It's Saturday, I must have. When I was out jamming in my driveway.
Right.
No, I wasn't.
Were you? No. Like, no.
But sometimes I do sit in the car and wait for the song, to end.
Yes. I do that a lot. A whole lot. I do that often. I love music. Music makes you feel good or bad or however you want to feel.
It does.
Good morning. Welcome to episode 14 of The Drive.
Are we on 14? Is that 15?
No, it's 14.
It is?
I don't know. I know that the last one said 13, but I don't know if I got the number wrong or what. We might be on 15.
Yeah.
But good morning and welcome to The Drive.
Welcome to The Drive.
This is my friend and business partner, Kat Hoyer.
And this is my friend and business partner, Brenda Colter. Good morning, Charles.
Good morning, Charles. How are you? Okay.
All right. This is going to be an exciting topic today.
This is, well, last week it's so funny every single week. So we decided what topics we're going to do each week, what two emotions we're going to do.
But we're flexible.
Right. We are very
has some
flexible.
Suggestions.
So we kind of know. So yesterday we're like, okay, so what two emotions are we doing tomorrow? And then we were like, guilt and shame. And it was like, oh, wow.
Debbie Downer. But I think we've both done a little bit of thinking and studying about it,
yes,
and have some really good, because this was one that got a lot of votes, the guilt and shame thing. They got a lot of votes.
Absolutely. Tons of votes.
So it's definitely awesome. Something that people are struggling with for various reasons, and we can talk about that. And we'd love your feedback, whether you're watching this live or even on the replay. We get a lot of really good comments on the replays where people send them, send it in or inbox us. So we appreciate that feedback, but definitely on the comment section, I think it helps other people to know that what they're going through.
I agree.
What I mean? That they're not alone.
And not only that, but sometimes it gives me insight when I go back and read the comments and somebody has a really good comment. I'm like, ooh, I didn't think about that during the show. So, thank you for giving us input and kind of helping us through this as well, because as you guys can see, when we talk about it, we're still working through a lot of this stuff ourselves as well, because it's kind of never anything that you just get down.
I was going to say, it's never ending. It's a constant evolution. The whole emotional intelligence thing, we could probably read the...
Yeah, I pulled it up.
Okay. But the whole emotional intelligence thing is something that, you're constantly evolving and getting better and better at.
Right. And
I think when you do start to become aware, you feel it almost even more. It's the whole ignorance is bliss thing.
It is so true. It makes you more mindful of what's going on and pay closer attention. So we'll kind of kick this off like we have been the last few weeks. We'll read the definition of emotional intelligence and then we'll dig into the good stuff.
Yep.
So emotional intelligence is the capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions, and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically. So of course it's always a good way to start, and just to think about that and think about how sometimes we can be perfectly aware of how we're feeling, but we can't control it. Or
we feel like we can't control it.
Right, we feel like we can't control it, or we feel like we can't express it. So to know that, to develop this intelligence, is being able to do all three of those things. You're aware, you can control it, and you can express it in a productive way.
And I think the fourth element is then relating to people who are also going through things.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, that's what helps with the relationships, because sometimes we have those expectations of people.
Exactamundo.
That maybe aren't necessarily realistic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do we want to start with?
Charles won. Good morning, Charles. I think we said that. Good morning, Tracy. Good morning, Scott. Good morning to everyone who hasn't told us good morning yet. Welcome. We love that you guys are here. Scott said, considering it's Veterans Day weekend, this topic is right on point and ties in with the Sip of Solidarity show. We really need to do something together.
Yeah.
Many veterans who experience PTSD have survivor's guilt and feel shame for their daily lives. Someone out there needs to hear this. Wow. Thank you so much, Scott. Thank you so much for that. So, which one do we start with?
Wow.
Well, I think shame maybe leads into guilt, or guilt. Oh God, they kind of feel each other.
They really do. And so let's talk about. The way this all started was that I'm a Pinterest junkie, and I love that's how I if I'm gonna wind down or whatever. A lot of times it's on Pinterest, whether it's recipes or quotes or all kinds of things. I find just about everything. Hairstyles, doesn't matter. So we found this form, this
infographic?
Yeah,
Kind of like an
infographic, I guess, that had all these different emotions listed and what the emotions are trying to tell you. And I shared with you this morning, I
don't necessarily.
I almost said vehemently disagree, and I'm like, I don't know that it's that strong. Okay. I just like to use big words sometimes.
So let's start with that. So on this sheet, it said that shame is internalizing others' beliefs about who you should be and who you need to, and that you need to reconnect with yourself.
Right. So, and then let's read because then I also looked up what shame is according to Webster. I think that might be Oxford on that one.
This one says the purposeful feeling of humiliation. The painful feeling
was actually good today.
It's really good. I don't have my glasses on and I didn't put in my contacts. A painful feeling of humiliation or that one, nope. Distress caused by the consciousness of wrong or foolish behavior. Ooh.
So it's the painful feeling of humiliation, basically, of doing something wrong, being aware that you've done something wrong.
Right.
So that, obviously, that's the definition, so you can't really
argue with that
one. But on this one, it's saying internalizing what other people think you should be doing. Mm-hmm. Now, I want to talk at some point, too, about the difference between shame and guilt, and I think it probably will come up pretty organically. But with shame, what I kept hearing was also the word should. Mm-hmm. And you know how should makes me feel like you don't should on yourself.
Should all over yourself.
So shame is sort of that painful feeling of wishing it was different. I don't know that it's always what other people think of you, that you're internalizing what other people think of you. I think it can be what you think of yourself too. I said think a lot in that sentence.
I'm thinking because I'm...
You know what? That's what we're going to do. We're going to do like Pee-wee's Playhouse and have a word of the day.
And like ding, ding, every time we say that word. Oh,
or maybe it's a drink. Maybe we make it a drinking game, but just a coffee drinking game.
A coffee drinking game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or we could have the drive after dark and make it a real drinking game. No.
That would definitely be the park in Kat's driveway. And don't go anywhere.
Right. Sorry, a little off topic.
I don't know because I'm interested for you to dig a little bit into that because I'm wondering if there isn't. I actually do agree with this because I feel like underlying there has to be some thought as to what others are thinking in order for you to feel shame because if you trip and you're in a room by yourself, you don't really kind of feel a way about it. Like, oops, I just tripped.
Really
but if you trip and you're walking down the road and there are people driving the street, it's like, oh man, I can't believe I just tripped. Oh my God, people are going to think I'm clumsy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if there isn't something inside that makes you go, oh God, what are people going to think of the fact that I just did that?
So maybe it's about dialing it back and knowing, is this an expectation that's been put on me by society, by my family, or is it something that I truly subscribe to?
That's it.
Because there are some things that, you know what, like I've felt guilt or I felt shame around that are things that I just don't want to be that person. I don't want to do that. It has nothing to do with, and I'm in a place in my life too, so maybe it's a little bit easier for me to disagree. Not that you're not, but I'm just saying it's easy for me to disagree because I don't really care what people think of me, and not in a bad way.
Right.
You said at all.
At all. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit.
Well, but I don't want to be a jerk to people. That's important to me. And if I was intentionally a jerk to someone, I would feel some shame around that because that's not who I want to be, and I would regret that. So shame is probably a little bit of regret too. I hadn't even really thought about that.
Oh, it is, because just think of a specific situation I'm thinking about. Even if it's not what the people, we kind of talked about this yesterday, you weren't worried about what outsiders might think of you, but you were worried about what the person who you may have offended or thought maybe you offended had done. So when we talk about beliefs, who others think you should need to be, and that you need to reconnect with yourself, maybe the others could be the people who we may be impacting and not just onlookers.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and I guess it's a matter of really, like I said, digging down and knowing that it's that reconnecting to yourself. That's the part I really like.
Self-awareness. It always goes back to self-awareness.
And self-awareness, but also what is important to me.
Right.
You know, and I guess, you know, even talking about, I don't know, I guess, you know, I don't know oh my gosh, if Jim was on here, I know he was on last week. He served in the in the Marines. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your service.
But I wonder if, I totally forgot where I was going with that. Shame. Oh, like if people with PTSD feel shame, or if that is more guilt.
I would think it's probably depending what the PTSD is.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking that, again, there is a certain degree of, for me personally, because I think I actually believe and not to negate what, of course, our troops and people who actually have gone through like battle and things like that experience. I think it's a little bit different from the PTSD that we may experience in our everyday lives.
Well, and we talk about PTSD from the standpoint of, there are all kinds of things that can cause PTSD that you would never think of. I mean, even going through a divorce or some type of traumatic, and it can be that traumatic, small t, traumatic, large t, like it's like a huge thing, a huge event, or the death by a million paper cuts.
That's true, and that's what I was going to say, because I know that for me, the PTSD when I was diagnosed after my marriage was over, being in an abusive relationship, there was definitely shame. Because once you come to a place to where you understand what was I thinking? Why did I stay in that?
You were saying, I should have known better.
Yes, I should have known better. How was I in that for so long? And, geez, what were the people around me thinking? So there was still that sense of,
thinking?
Right, and not because I was necessarily concerned about it, but let's say going back, like even into now, I realized that there clearly was some damage that was caused in my family, because they struggle now to know, like, I'm in a new relationship and I could kind of see them like, I hope she's okay. I hope she doesn't go back into that. I hope do you know what I mean?
Right.
So that brings the shame back a little bit.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, yeah, because it's a reminder, like, geez, I did this to them. Especially as my children are concerned. I created this anxiety for them. And then and it leads into guilt.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. Oh. So that's so interesting. No, it's just that's so interesting. And so leading into guilt, let's talk about that. So this was the guilt definition.
Right. So the definition, wait, before we go into guilt really quick, I just want to say we have Shelly on. Hey, Shelly. Hi, Kim. She said, good morning. Good morning, Kim.
Good morning, Kim.
Thanks for watching. Mike is on. He said, hi, Kat.
Hi, Mike.
And Kim said,
Mike. Go Browns.
That's so funny.
He's yelling go Colts. I know that right now.
Kim said that she walked with her daughter through PTSD from a head injury. So, I mean, that's something else to consider, too. The TBIs, when you have a traumatic brain injury, sometimes they can trigger the same. Yeah. Okay. That I'm like. If that's what you're saying, Kim, let me know if I'm wrong about that. I mean, I know that it can happen, but if I'm wrong about that being what you're saying. But anyway, going back into guilt, the definition of guilt is feeling of deserving blame. Is that what that says? That says right.
Yeah, the feeling of deserving blame. Because when I was first looking it up, it was all about like admitting you were wrong. Right. You know what I mean? Like if you're, and it was like in a court of law, kind of that type of thing. Okay. Guilt, as far as that goes, it was more as a noun. So this was a verb. So feeling that you deserve blame. So then this is what it said on that little paper.
So on the paper it said, guilt shows you that you are still living in others' expectations of you and what you should do. I love that both of these contain that should. It triggers something like, oh, well, that's not right. And Kim said, yes, it was a TBI. Okay. So yeah, it triggers the same. It can trigger the same things.
So on the guilt thing, on what this was saying is you're living in what you are still living in others' expectations of what you should do. So again, for me, I don't connect with that because I don't live in what others expect of me. But it took me a long time to get there too. I had to really get quiet and go within. And for me, I'm connecting with God and who I am and who I'm supposed to be and all of those other things. So that's like, I had to put away everything of what others thought I should be.
And I don't don't know if it's expect. It's the expect that makes me disconnect a little bit, because again, like we were just talking about, my feelings of guilt have nothing to do with what I feel like other people expected me to do. It's my expectations of myself. I expect that I should have known better.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So the rest of it resonates. But again, like you said, it's not really about others, and it's probably because now I have come to the point to where it's a little more me, and it's about forward thinking. So for me, it's kind of making sure that I don't fall into that place again, and identifying why I fell into it in the first place. So
yeah,
I don't know, but the feeling of deserving blame is what now that does resonate for me.
Yeah. So when I was looking up, I knew that, Brene Brown does a ton of research. She does on vulnerability, guilt, and shame. That's
right.
That's kind of her platform. And she talks about the difference between guilt and shame.
Mm-hmm.
And she was saying, shame says, I am bad.
Mm-hmm.
Guilt says, I have done bad. So shame is sort of owning it and taking it on as who you are, defining you.
Wow.
And guilt is
acknowledging that
it is something you did wrong. And that's where I think this is where the emotional intelligence comes in to me. You come around, you're like, okay, I'm feeling shame and or I'm feeling guilt. So naming that feeling and understanding, okay, what am I thinking?
Right.
We're going to back that up a little bit. What am I thinking that's causing that? And then start to challenge those thoughts. And sometimes those thoughts are true. If you've done something that is quote unquote deserving of blame,
right,
then how do you make amends for that, or how do you rectify it? What do you do? How do you start to change your behavior so that doesn't happen? And or can you start to go, oh yeah, that thought's not true, like I don't like survivor's guilt is a big one, like I don't deserve to live or to be the one who survived whatever the situation is,
right.
So to start to challenge that,
I think that's really good. And just to kind of we kind of do a more in-depth version of this, but a way to analyze those feelings and to challenge those feelings is think.
Yes.
So you ask yourself, is this true? Is this inspiring?
Helpful.
Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Is it kind? So you take that one thought that you're having that's creating these feelings of guilt and or shame, and you go through each of those questions and address each point to figure out exactly what you need to do to alleviate yourself of that feeling. Because the one thing that this does show is that these feelings are typically self-imposed. Do you know what I mean? Like both of these are usually self-imposed. Like nobody can, I know we talk about how people can't make us feel anything, but these particularly, no one can make you feel shame because it's an internal feeling of your own beliefs, triggered by your own beliefs.
Right. They can try.
They can really try.
That can be their intention.
And they can feed it. They can feed your already present feeling of guilt and shame.
Yeah.
People can definitely feed that as well. So just being careful and mindful of what your mind is doing and walking through each of those steps could be a helpful way to alleviate those. We have a comment here. Shelly said, I'm working through shame and guilt from events in the past, even though I know I can't do anything to change the events. And that's kind of what I was just talking about, because it's not necessarily, I can't change the fact that I entered into this marriage and the circumstances surrounding that, but I can feel better about making that decision by ensuring that I don't make similar decisions in the future.
Right.
You know what I mean? Akin to that. So if I work through those old feelings and those old situations, then it can help me moving forward.
Yeah. So I'm not sure which Shelly this is, but there's one that
Shelly Dryman.
Okay. So there's another Shelly that I know probably has some, and I know she wouldn't mind me saying this, survivor's guilt even, because of some things that she's been through.
Right.
So that's something that she didn't cause. So that's when you can start to go, that's when is it true, helpful, inspiring, necessary, or kind? You say, is it true? Well, no, depending on what the thought is, but, she didn't do anything to cause that, or, but then you go to the helpful. Is it helpful? No. So then you start to go, well, what can I think? Like, obviously it doesn't happen.
Steer it.
You're steering it. You're steering it. So we're giving you a little steer lesson here.
Pick up your pencils. We're giving you a little bitty lesson in
There will be a
steer.
test. No, well, yeah, there will. It'll be a life test.
There will be
And then
a
you'll be like,
test.
I steered
They'll come
it.
constantly.
Yeah.
And it's like a victory. Small victories when you steer something, especially when it happens in the moment.
Yes.
Like, woo!
And I don't know about you, but I was talking to somebody yesterday who they were explaining a situation, and they know steer and they know it well and they live it. And she was talking about how, you know, she was having a really bad day, and then how she steered it, but she didn't use the word steer. And she's like, she reframed her thinking, you know, and turn it around into having a really good day. And I was like, oh, you steered it, girl.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
That is so exciting.
It
it's
is.
always good to hear.
So
especially for someone who knows it, and then you go, you steered that, and they go,
yeah, because
I
at that
did.
point it's automatic. It's so cool because it becomes ingrained in how they think. So she's literally rewired
Right.
her thought process into that.
neural pathways have been redirected.
Woohoo! But back into the darker topic of you know the whole like survivor's guilt and things like that, or situations that you didn't have control over, and or things that have happened in the past that you can't change.
Right.
I think that's when we can go into some of the things that we talked about, you know, what can I learn from it?
Yes.
And just accepting that it happened. And, you know, that's, I think that's something that I've worked a lot at getting better, and I feel like I'm pretty much there. You know, as soon as I say that, life throws me a test to remind me, like, nope, you're not.
I shouldn't have said that.
But, the, like, accepting that it happened, I can't change it. What can I learn from it? And then it just
brings you to serenity. So it brings you back to kind of the serenity prayer. You're accepting the things that you can't change, you're changing the things that you can, and now you have the wisdom to know the difference.
Oh, wow.
And that's how you get that feeling of serenity. It brings a peace.
That was good.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
But that's what was going through my mind the more we talked about it. It's that I don't know, peace.
It is, yeah. Yeah, so I'm realizing, though, that I connect on a different level with these than I did before. So, or not a different level, but from a different
perspective.
Yeah. So hopefully I'm not like, that's genuinely why I believe that life then throws me another lesson so that I can learn it again.
Like,
or not learn it again, but like,
you don't got a chair, honey. No, I'm
right. Well, yeah. No, it's kind of like, because this is my mission in life, to help people.
Right.
And if I'm so far removed from it, then I can't.
I'm gonna stop finishing your sentences one.
Well, I realize that I pause a lot. I watch that. So, by the way, thank you to anybody who watched that video, or please go watch it. The talk.
Yes.
Maybe we'll post it in the drive.
We should.
I have a mission. I'm on a mission to be in the top 5 this week for it.
Oh yeah.
So that more people see it. And the reason I want more people to see it, just so you know, it was from Disrupt HR. In Detroit, and I did a talk. It's a really cool platform of all kinds of amazing people talk there and have these like profound ideas that they're presenting. But mine was on neurodiversity, so just understanding that people process information differently. But I noticed how much I pause, like when I'm like thinking of the next word. Now, of course, that one is a fairly memorized thing, so it's a little bit different. But I think I do that a lot in everyday speech. Too.
Yeah, and I think I'm filling the blanks. Like, go. Next word. Next. I feel like we're playing. What was that show?
Or whatever. Oh no.
It was a show like the Pyramid, like $25,000 Pyramid, where somebody starts a sentence and you have to finish it.
It's back on.
Is it?
Yeah, and Michael Strahan. Well, I think we would do really good in that show.
We would. Shelley said it seems much easier for her to steer her thoughts in present moments than it does in moments from the past.
Ooh.
Wow. Really?
Shelley, let's steer that.
She said share the video into her group.
Oh, okay. Okay, awesome.
And Kim said share the link as well. We'll put it in the comments of this post, and we'll also post it on the Drive page.
Yeah, so Shelley, I would love, because I want to steer that. Yeah, let's steer it. Like, for real. Let's get, like, the 3 of us get together and on Zoom, and we will go through and steer that. and just see what happens with it. And
yeah, I'm super interested to do that.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that, actually.
that could be really cool, because I do think that we do have to steer some things from the past.
Oh, yes, and that's why I'm particularly interested in it, because it was easier for me to steer my things from the past and then bring it to things in the present. Power steering didn't come so naturally for me.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm very interested to go into that.
Oh, love
Cool.
this stuff. Telling ya, so exciting.
So more about was that it about the differences between?
Yeah, I mean, it was really just that shame is saying I am bad, at least according to Brene Brown's definition of it, that shame is saying I am bad, and guilt is saying I did bad. And that's me paraphrasing. And
what makes me think about that is if that's the case, then from what she's saying, and again, this is just me thinking through it. This is what happens when Kat and I have.
Are you about to disagree with Brene Brown?
No, I'm not. But no, maybe I am a little bit, because
it's okay.
It almost gives the illusion that guilt can be a good thing, and I don't know how that. I have to sit on that a little bit.
I think
you think guilt can be a good thing?
Absolutely.
And how?
Because if you truly are doing bad things. That does not mean you are a bad person. You are doing bad things, and that guilt will motivate you to change that behavior. If you don't have any guilt toward your bad behavior, then you're like, I don't care. I don't care if I hurt people.
Okay.
Conviction. That's it. Yeah. Okay.
I got you. So I think it might depend on. I think it's very important though to analyze whether the guilt is. I don't want to say valid, because that would give the illusion that something could be invalid, but I'm just saying there have been times where I felt guilty about a situation, and when I go back and think about it, when I do think through it, I'm like, that wasn't me, that wasn't on me. And if I'm not careful to think about it in the right way, then I could then be feeling guilty and having some negative results from something that's not my fault or not my guilt to hold. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's that reconnecting with yourself,
right?
To understand, is this genuinely something I want to feel differently about, or
yes, yeah. So making sure we stress that point, reconnecting with yourself, and making sure that, because I know that for the things that I did steer in the past, it was a lot of shame and a lot of guilt around baggage that wasn't even mine.
Yeah.
So I had to be very careful about that. Give people their bags back.
Yeah. What was it? I think Scott said that last week about, drop your bags at the door. Yeah, and sometimes we carry other people's bags, or, well, that's the same thing. I was going to say carry our bags from the past, but.
Right. Well, I mean, still ours, there's a difference between the ones that are ours, because like you said, those are the things that the guilt can help us do and correct, and actions that it can help us correct. But when it's somebody else's, it's kind of something that we just got to release and let go of.
So I feel like shame is the one that's not a productive. I don't know how that one could be a productive emotion.
I don't either, because it seems more like a label.
Yeah, it's saying that I am a bad person.
Shame says that you suck.
Yeah, right. And shame
and
is
you
shitting.
don't suck. Nobody sucks.
That's right.
And Shelly said, "Sounds good." So she'd like to.
Yay!
Awesome. We're looking forward to it. We'll get with you.
Yeah, that's exciting. And I just so. Sorry, I just remembered she sent me a polo, and I logged, and I went to hit a button, and I logged onto her thing, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna come back to it because I was hitting something else. So I saw that you sent me one. I have to listen to it.
She'll polo you back.
All right, yeah. So yeah.
Jeez, is that it?
Did we actually get done in a decent? We got 9:30.
Right. We have not gotten done with any of these this fast. Just. I hope this was helpful for someone. It was very helpful for me. It was actually really good to talk through.
Yeah.
It's always good.
Yeah, so we started, it was funny, like when you first got in the car, I said, I disagree with some of this stuff, and you're like, oh, let's hold it. Like, don't have any of these discussions.
Right. Let's disagree on camera. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. Well, and it was actually kind of funny. I do wish that little exchange at the very beginning was caught, because we're both doing our things. We're putting our little stick-it notes up. We're getting our stuff on our phones. We're doing all this stuff. And then we settled in, and I was like, hi, how are you? After we've been in the car with each other for 5 minutes, but
we were getting ready for you guys.
We were. But we got this down to a science, I think.
We do.
Nobody else, we'd probably drive everybody else crazy.
And we would.
Potentially.
Oh my God. I think in most of the things that we do, probably drive most people crazy. I don't know. Oh, okay. Well, it's not as pretty. This drive's not as pretty as it was last week.
It isn't. It's starting to get a little, like all the leaves are gone. Look at that. The leaves are gone. The grass is brown. It's 30 degrees outside.
I'm over it.
It's all right. It's, you know what?
No, the Sip in Solidarity, they posted a really good post basically saying stop complaining about the snow, because they're like, it's going to snow anyway. So either it can snow and you can be happy and be your same old happy self, or it can snow and you can be miserable. Pick one.
Yeah. It's not going to change. Did
I say Sip in Solidarity? Sip of Solidarity.
Oh,
Did I say Sip of?
I thought you did.
Okay, Sip of Solidarity.
I knew what you meant, so it made it a little bit easier. But
check out those ladies. They're awesome.
Yeah, they
Sip
are
of
amazing.
Solidarity. They're great. We're going to try to do a cross something, some kind of show here eventually. But, yeah, so thank you guys for joining us this week on The Drive. Next week, y'all know we never know what we're going to do the next week. We have it written down somewhere. So next week will be 2 different emotions, 2 different topics, and we'll be ready to talk about those as well. As always, feel free to inbox us, to text. What's the number?
860-792-6224.
Yes, feel free to text us if you have any questions, any comments, any feedback. They're all welcome. And do not forget to share The Drive. We will see you next week. Same Facebook channel, same Facebook time. Talk to you guys next week.
We might need to work on the sign off.
Right.